Welcome to the Quail Call, the official podcast of Quail City Soccer. I'm your host, Ryan Townsend. I'm here with Valor, Daniel, Rachael, and Ryan, and we are heading like a steam train. We're rolling towards the start of the regular season. A couple of things I want to say first off. If you are watching this or listening to us right now, please subscribe. That's going to really help us reach more listeners and viewers. You can find us on Instagram. You can also follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on the TikTok. We are also on X, formerly known as Twitter, really always Twitter, and Blue Sky. I don't think we're not on the Facebook, but who needs that one? Who needs that one anyway? Are we on the Facebook?
We are not on the Facebook.
We're not on the Facebook right now. So anyway, we're really excited. This is our second preseason episode. I just straight off, I want to issue two corrections. One is that last week we did a whole segment where we talked about the history of Sacramento Republic FC versus San Jose Earthquakes proper. The friendly that we just played this past weekend was against San Jose Earthquakes 2. So let me just set the record straight and say we messed up. We missed the 2. Although it was pretty small. It was pretty small in the logo. So we're gonna own it, and just know that in any new endeavor, preseason game, guys, we're gonna score an own goal or two. But we're gonna put more in the back of the net than we let in. So the other thing is that Rachael did refer to the club Miami FC as Inter Miami, which is go ahead.
The fun thing about
FC.
that is the fun thing about that is that our San Jose Quakes 2 was such a fun blunder that I don't think I got a single comment from anybody that I know about Inter Miami.
So I just scored another own goal on us.
Yes, thank you for that. But I mean, how many of those jerseys did we see at that game? It's just
Too many.
memory collating in my brain.
Well, I remember it was 2 years ago. The game against Miami FC sold out when there was quite a few available seats for the other matches around that time period. So the club also did not discourage anyone from any curious folks from purchasing tickets to Miami FC.
I'm going to get Miami FC jersey that says MESSY on the back, and I'm just going to wear it to every game we play against them.
That would be perfect. But speaking of San Jose Earthquakes 2, what did you see in this match, Dan? And what can we learn from this 5-2 drubbing of San Jose Earthquakes 2?
Appreciate it, Ryan. I think that primarily Maeli Malongo. When the first time we get a chance to see him, he score a hat trick. That's pretty good. When the biggest concern we heard from fans was outside of Shade New Stadium was goals. Where are we going to score goals? And we scored some right off the bat. So with him, what I was most impressed with was just his composure in front of the goal. His first goal reminded me of this one that Gabriel Jesus did, and where he just juked the defender went flying, and then he just curled it into the far corner, and that's exactly what Malongo did. And I was taking pictures behind the goal, and I'm just like, oh my God, and he did not panic. He didn't take the shot too early, and I'm like, that's what you love to see. So that was definitely something that was good. He scored 2 other goals beyond that. We also complained a bit about the lack of set pieces for the team historically. And granted, this was a preseason game. We're all excited to see within the first 5 minutes, Desmond got his head on the end of a corner, put it in the back of the net, and everybody's like, did we just score off of a set piece? So that's part of the reason why I'm wearing this set piece king. So maybe Sacramento can be the set piece kings of the USL Championship, but that remains to be seen. Also, I was very impressed with the new midfielders that we picked up. Casas, Christosomos, both the Rodriguezes, who are not related. And one particular little bit of a tough streak, which I like. He's not dirty or anything, but he plays hard and want to kind of do that blue collar role. And then we saw Mark Anthony Kay come on for a short stint in the second half, and I was down the field watching him during warm-ups, and he was literally in street clothes. I think they were just like, no, let's just throw you out there. I don't know if he had a chance to play with the team before he got out there, but it was immediately evident that this guy is a higher class. I mean, he's just so smooth on the ball, very calm. Just looks like everyone around him's going crazy, and he's just slow motion, just So another thing I had heard was that he is one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. I haven't had a chance to meet him, but I've had several people that did meet him say, "Oh my God, what a nice guy!" Which we'll take our nice guys when we can get them. I also liked that our defense was the first half defense, which we all felt was our first team defense, performed very well. Didn't allow a whole lot of shot opportunities, shut things down really well. Danny looks to be on midseason form already in the goal, and really good. As far as negative things go, I don't want to be too critical. It's a preseason game. We had another one after that, and then even the first part of the season took a while for them to gel. So I'm not going to be too critical. We did see Gibby started pointed out, and I might not have noticed if Coach Collins didn't pull you aside and kind of rip you a new one. A little bit out of position in that first goal that we gave up, and that's time for learning, especially our young players. So that not too concerned about. Although I do feel that Collins will very much rotate the squad with U.S. Open Cup games. And what's the new tire, the former Jägermeister Cup one that we're doing?
The Prince tire.
Yeah,
I'll
Prince
just call
tire.
it
There
the
you go.
USL Cup.
We'll be rotating a lot. So those people that were designated second team players will probably get a good amount of time. So I would like to see that gel a little bit. But beyond that, and seeing, we're kind of discussing what formations they might have been in and why we have so many midfielders, which, we needed some midfield support. But we saw a lot of those midfielders really pushing up on the wings. And I felt like it made our attack a little bit different, a little bit more dynamic than we saw last year. So I was happy to see it. So I'm really bullish on the team. Obviously, it's very early, so I reserve the right to scale back on that if need be. But overall, I liked what I saw. I think that this team is bigger, stronger. I can't say faster, probably faster, but they're not going to get bullied like we saw against particularly Tulsa last year. Tulsa really came in, and it wasn't like they out scored us 5-0 like that, but they really manhandled our midfield. I just think there's no way of getting around that, and I don't see that
And
happening with the squad that we have now.
I agree too with what you were saying about the second half definitely was a little bit shaky, but I think it's really profound that we're at this moment where who we started we're so steady, so like rock solid that we're able to take that second half and build with it, build the new connections. If we already have such an established team with really great connections, and these are people that are signed like day of, it's really amazing. I'll take that second half 2 goals with the education and the progress that we can make as a team. For me in the stands, I just like, all this build up, all this momentum, all these signings. You really don't know what it's going to be like until you're sitting there and you're watching these things progress. And I was so blown away. It just felt like such a sharper, pristine team that had time with them, like building together. I was so relieved, but I was also so excited. I'm excited for what this season will look like for sure. So that was my
So
takeaway.
so am I. I'll be honest. I have to eat my words. On the last episode, I said I don't know. I said I didn't know where the goals were going to come from. I'm not convinced by any of these players, but I'm going to trust the system. Well, I trust the system. It showed. I mean, to Rachel's point. I mean, I was a couple sections over from her at the game, watching, and as these players are just running in, I'm like, they're going to score. And I was calling it as they were coming in. They just looked so calm, composed, like ready to go. You wouldn't tell that this was a preseason game, that these players were, half that team was signed, more than half that team was signed in the offseason. Like, you wouldn't have picked up on that really at all. Like, they played just so concise. Like, and Malongo, like that, I think that's where the goals are coming from. I mean, he just looked like he belonged there from day one. Like, he's been playing with that team for years. It was so much fun to watch. I have not had that much fun at a game. Brutal honesty. Haven't had that much fun at a game in a couple years. Just like, I was kicked back, drink in hand. I completely forgot to take the notes. Like, I had to write a recap, and I'm like, I didn't take any notes. Like, I was having too much fun. Like, it was a great game. It really was.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I mean, just incredible weather. Incredible weather. I was just so happy to be back at the stadium. And then the intensity and the press. I don't know if they're academy players, but this MLS Next Pro version of San Jose Earthquakes did not seem prepared for our intensity. So, Valor, maybe you can comment a little bit on what Collins is. What's his plan? Did we see it last year or did we not? Is this are we gonna see the real Collins? Will the real Collins please stand up?
I think this will be a lot more of what I think we thought we were going to get last year that we didn't. Last year, we expected a 4-4-2 that he had used with Tampa Bay. When we did our research after we signed Collins at the start of last season, we more saw that when he was with Tampa Bay, he had used this kind of 4-4-2 that shifts into a 4-2-3-1. And we didn't see that last year. We saw a 5-2-3, which was a little bizarre. It was not what we were expecting. And then out of nowhere, this season he signs all of these midfielders that I don't think we were expecting. And we're sitting here going, Ryan and I were talking about this the other day. Where's he going to put them all? And I think we saw with the preseason game that he lined up in this 4-4-2 that shifts into this 4-2-3-1. And so this is where I think you're going to see a lot more of these midfielders come in, is that we have a lot more capacity to put midfielders in. I think we're going to see Christosomos, Memo, Kay, and Arturo probably start with the rest of the guys kind of filling it around. But the press that we're doing is not the high press that we did most of last season. Last season, we aggressively high press. This year, I think we're going to high press, but it's going to be more of a controlled high press, which is at least what we saw against San Jose. And that controlled high press is all about getting possession of the ball. Last year, our high press was all about getting up, grabbing the ball, and quick shooting on goal. We had those 6-second goals. This season, I think it's going to be more of a controlled high press, keep the opposition in their half, and focus on winning possession back so that we can implement that formation change that we are hoping to see, where we can get numbers up. And I think that's really going to be the biggest thing that you're going to see here. When Collins used the system in Tampa Bay in 2021, 2020, I believe, they won the league and they had the most goals scored and the fewest goals against. And he had a very similar roster makeup to what we have now, which is overloading on midfielders, only a few strikers, and a decent number of defenders. And I think that whole formation works a lot better with what he wants. Overload the midfield, win the ball back, and then get the ball out wide where we can get balls into the box and crash the box. And I think that's what we're going to start to see. And I think this is a formation that Collins is a lot more comfortable with. I think last season he wanted to use it, but didn't have enough midfielders to really utilize it. And so I think he was kind of forced into that 5-2-3 that we saw. So I'm really curious to see how this 4-4-2 will look against non-opposition, for lack of a better term here. We'll see against Tulsa, obviously. But I think it'll be a lot more cohesive than last year's kind of chase the ball over the field. It'll be a lot more of a contain.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing you're talking about as far as controlled possession, because much of our articles kind of comprised of this idea that our possession doesn't equate goals, right? That it's almost burdening our team. So having a more controlled possession, is it really going to, result in goals? And I do agree. I think it's definitely going to be more controlled and purposeful. People are going to connect, and the midfield is going to be our heavy hitter in that. I mean, we have the strikers to conclude, but I have so much faith. I mean, you have to, with such like a in-depth roster like we do with our many signings. But I totally agree that we'll see something with control. We'll see these profound connections, and we'll see the goals that we've all been waiting for. So
I think the issue last year too is when we finally did get control of the ball, we didn't have anybody tall to actually put anything in. A lot of the attackers that we had, you look at Cicerone, you look at Pirano, great players, but they are dribble at opposing defenses and try to beat somebody. And USL has gotten a lot bigger over the last 3 or 4 years, especially on back line. That's the big trend right now, is throw a 6'5" guy at the back who just bodies a opposing striker and take the foul. And so you have to adapt to the trends in the world of football, and really what you need to do to beat that is get tall guys who can actually get heads on balls. So last year having possession was detrimental because we didn't have anybody who could actually get through and actually put something on goal or shoot well or finish, because we were just blocked by those tall defenses. So having possession was negative, because as soon as the opposing defense got structured, we couldn't break them down at all. This season, I think it's going to be a lot different. I think we have the pieces to break them down now. Jack led all wingbacks last season in chances created. We just couldn't do anything with them. This season, we have the pieces now to allow those chances Jack creates to actually result in goals. I think you could see. I can see a world where Jack Gurr leads the entirety of USL Championship in assists this season, and it would not surprise me to have him do that from a wingback position.
I think what's another interesting thing from that game that I saw was that last season we would make a run at goal and we would take the shot, but as soon as it didn't convert, and it never converted, we would sort of fall off and we'd be back on the defense and everybody would fall back to defend. But then when we would turn around and press forward, you wouldn't see anybody making the runs. It'd be one person, right? What was really interesting and made it very difficult for my early portion of the game when I was trying to take notes, made it very difficult was that as we came near goal, one of the strikers, and I believe it was Edwards, it is Edwards, kept falling back. And it was making it very difficult for me to understand what the hell is going on here. Because we'd be making the runs and he would drop. And I think a big piece that I saw was that we're going to see a higher focus on second balls this season, because that was a really big piece that I saw in the first half, at least. Not so much in the second, but I was at the other end of the field, so it could just be I missed it. But in the first half, when we didn't convert, Edwards was right there ready to grab the ball and go again. Whether it be Malenga coming up the wing or it be Jack coming up the wing, it would be one of them. But he would drop back for that second ball if they didn't convert. So we still had that shot. And I can't say with certain, but I believe his goal was off of a second ball. But I can't say with certain. I don't have the highlights to go back and confirm. But I think that'll be a big focus this season.
Call Christian Pirano short, by the way, is like the biggest understatement of all time, because the guy on his tippy toes might have been like 5'3". I mean, like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
5'5", and quick aside, the Republic, they'll sell a lot of their vintage or leftover stuff from the previous season. In the store, we went and had one of the mystery boxes, and I pulled out this little tiny shirt. So that's going straight to my daughter, and she's all sweet. She wears stuff small and tight, and it was a Pirano, like his legit jersey. You know,
oh, it's like, real jersey.
Are you serious? It's like this big. But, I wanted to mention also one thing that I liked, because one of the criticisms I had last year was, I didn't know if it was Danny or if it was, I'm assuming the coach told me to do this, but when he would make a save or would get passed back to him, or, you know, ball would come through to him, he would just stand there and like, I'm going to wait for the whole defense to get set up before I do anything. And it drove me freaking nuts. We had like no fast breaks at all. And I didn't see a lot of, big breaks during this last game, but I did see more of an intent to let's get right back at him. And I like to see that. He wasn't sitting there holding the ball. Hey, everyone, come on, go out, go out, go out. You know, I was like, let's get it. Okay, who am I getting it to? Let's get out to the wing. Let's start moving up the field. And I think that that's going to allow us to get defenses back on their heels and create some more chances, which I thought was a missed opportunity last year. So glad to see that.
Yeah, I think everybody shifts with this momentum, right? You have fast players, and I think everybody is taking part in that, even to the extent of the goalkeeper. And I really think that's what was missing. You know, we had so much of just like, I guess it felt like Hail Marys when it came to our shots on goal. That now that we have everybody, and I think it's a mindset too, because every single player as they've come to this club has announced that this was a purpose for them. They wanted to come to Sacramento because they wanted to win, they wanted to score goals, they wanted to see the transition, maybe even from MLS. So everybody did this with purpose, and I think it'll really spread amongst every player in our team.
That's great. Rachel, let's talk about, so on the 21st, we played San Jose Earthquakes 2. On the 28th, we played away at Colorado Switchbacks. So talk to us about what happened in that match.
We can't really speculate too much other than what was presented and me scouring the internet because I love the internet. But we did get an announcement that it was 1-0 and we lost. I was able to find a video of the goal in itself, and it was a very high press goal, and our backline, I don't know, there was a couple of missteps, it seemed. There was a striker open to the right of the box or something to that effect. I was able to see it was a very different lineup in terms of who started. At least I'm assuming, again, because of the speculation. But it did look like Spalding, Kleeman, Kay, Crisosimo, Desmond, Arturo, Forster, Benitez, and Mele, along with Vitiello, were there. So, a bit of a different lineup in terms of how San Jose Quakes 2 had been presented. I mean, a loss sucks. Who knows what took place or what they took from it, but 1-0 is, I'm not hating the idea that we took a small loss before we get into the game. Again, is something that could potentially be learned from what we all are not seeing. So
it was a goal from Feldberg. It looks like I had to zoom in a little bit on that video, but you're right. It looked like a defensive breakdown on that back line where he just ended up out there on the left, just completely unmarked, and was able to slot it home. So.
But yeah,
and I do
that
want to
really
note
kind
on
of.
that too. It looked like we didn't really have like you said, Rachel. It wasn't really our full like starting back line that I would expect. Spalding is a decent defender, but he's not somebody that I would expect to be playing at center back position quite often. And it looks like he was playing really, really central. So giving up 1 goal in a preseason game with probably not our first tier lineup, probably not the end of the world. Probably Colin's just moving some pieces around to kind of see what could potentially click for future games.
Yeah, and so it really does pivot because we're talking about friendlies, but we do have our upcoming game. But I mean, the state of the league in itself is kind of up in the air. We have a potential strike. 90% of the league is in agreement to it. So I mean, every day, every hour is a progression of what's going to happen and what the stakes are, and if we're seeing a game on Friday or Saturday. I kind of want to throw it around and see what everybody's thoughts are in terms of the league as it currently stands.
Well, I'll just jump in because I don't have a take much different from a lot of people, and that is big time supporter of the players. Obviously, the club's been good to us in a lot of ways, and there's no disregarding that. But the reality of it is the stronger the league is, the stronger our team is, the stronger it is in the community, the more it grows the game. A whole bunch of positives. We hear some of the stories that you hear, and it's not necessarily out of our team, but you hear about players not getting their housing allowance. You hear about them having to get a captain out at a community park because they can't practice with their trainers because they don't have workers' comp insurance, things of that nature. It's not good. It's not the sort of look that you want to have from a league you're playing in. And for a league that's positioning themselves as a competitor to MLS, TVB came out with a little statement that they stand behind the players. Personally, and this is no rip, like I said, on the Republic directly, but a league as a whole, I think needs to step up and really look at running things in a first-class manner, which in some areas they do, but clearly in some areas they're falling short, and hopefully that'll get addressed.
And I want to chime in and say, too, that a lot of what I'm hearing is that a majority of the teams in the league are happy with the new agreement. I'm from very much what I'm seeing, I'm not hearing any specific teams or any specific names that are causing problems, but it very much does sound like it's 2 or 3 teams or owners that are the holdup and that have sort of the conditions that are not favorable and are not willing to spend the money, whereas most of the rest of the league seems okay with the new proposal. So it really needs to be an interesting situation where, the league needs to step up and kind of solve this problem. But if you've got 2 or 3 owners who are bringing the whole rest of the league down, I almost feel like you got to discuss if those 2 or 3 owners need to move on if they're not willing to take the league where it should be.
No, I don't disagree with that sentiment at all. I think that, to be really candid, to be moving toward a pro rel system, to be announcing USL Premier, and to not have a ratified CBA for this new season, it's egg on the face for the league. It's really embarrassing. It really is. And what the players are asking for, I'm going to stand with them 100%. They're not asking for the world. They're asking for 12-month contracts. They're asking for standard professional standards. I mean, they're not asking for much here. Healthcare is not a difficult ask here for a collection of teams who are building stadiums, that are investing in all of the things you need for a USL Premier team, but you're not willing to invest in the players. I think it's just embarrassing. It really is. And Dan mentioned some of these stories from that, but to hear players coming in and having to clean their own housing, coming in for team provided housing because it was so disgusting to live in, it's just an embarrassing factor there. I mean, especially from a league who wants to be Premier, who wants to have a Division One, who wants to be, maybe not a rival to MLS, but to be perceived as anything along the lines of Premier. It's embarrassing. It really is. And you'd think that they would be more inclined, and I know it's a small selection of teams that are kind of holding this up, it sounds like, or owners that are holding this up, it sounds like, but I mean, you're talking about 20 teams folded in the last 10 years. You're talking about a team folding 12 days before the season. I mean, these are not good looks for the league as we come into a new season, while you're handing out awards to the league president, while you're doing a number of things. It's a really bad look. It really is. Well, the league's bringing in new investment firms into the league. You would think that hopefully this kind of money is to bring in those kind of professional standards and to fund some of these things to bring the league up a layer. You hope that's what it's for, and that it's not just to add that kind of investment to the league to further their own profits. Because if you don't invest in the players first, the league's going to collapse. The future of the league is not going to be sustainable if you're holding out 10-month contracts, you're holding out healthcare, you're holding out anything near reasonable living wages. So
yeah, and we already saw this affect the championship match, like where they didn't want to have a proper trophy. Is this true? I mean, you guys can fact check me on this right now. They didn't want to have a trophy celebration because they didn't like the shirts they were upset about the shirts that the players came out in. Which were calling for the league to implement these standards. And so
I don't think it was ever officially confirmed. Like the league didn't officially say, although where we would really expect the league to confirm that.
Yeah, right.
I don't think it was ever officially confirmed. But even if it wasn't the case, it's a terrible look that your League One championship, you do the streamers, you do the stage, you hand them the trophy, everything else, and your USL championship team, arguably the next tier up, higher tier, you just hand them the trophy and walk off the field, and no fanfare, no announcement. I think one of the arguments to be made is that the broadcast had cut away because they had gone to college football immediately after the final. It was a 9 a.m. final, which made things a little annoying with the broadcasting. But still, even if you're not doing it for the sake of the broadcast, I mean, wouldn't the league want those photos
do it for the promo.
PR? Yeah. So I think
things.
Even though the league hasn't confirmed it, I mean, it's a bad look either way. Even if it's accidental and like stuff fell through to get the stage there, what other professional league is missing out on having the stage and the banner and everything else during your championship game? What other league lets that fall through?
To be fair, the league hasn't said anything until just this week when they responded to the authorized strike from the Players Association. I mean, that's the first time the league really said anything through this entire process. And we talk about how it's a bad look at the championship last year. We talk about how all of these things are a bad look with the announcement of USL Premier and Pro-Rel and all these things. And really at this point, perception's reality. If the league's going to remain silent, then we're going to continue to side with the players, the people who are going on the field every week, playing, putting their bodies at risk for this league, for this sport that we all enjoy to watch. If the league wants to remain silent, it's all perception at this point. It only makes them look bad. It's better to say something than to sit there in silence and say nothing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I'm sorry, Rachel. Just let me get this out. I've seen some takes on USL Pro, the subreddit, and on Sac Republic subreddit as well, which is like, these bozos get paid enough. Like, just get on the field and play. These are takes that are familiar to me as a young baseball fan, like who saw work stoppages like interrupt the game that I love. And I was like, why can't they just play? They make millions of dollars. I didn't really understand. It's not just about the star players. It's not just about guys with endorsements. You want to have squad depth. You want to bring guys up through the academy. It's for all of those people. And so I'll be gutted. I just want to say, as a fan, I will be gutted if we don't kick off the season on March 7th against Tulsa FC at Heart Health Park. But I'm going to stand with the players. We have to take care of the players, or we got no league. I agree with what Ryan said. And so you go ahead, Rachel. Sorry to cut you off there.
That's all right. I think too, what you're saying exactly it. The silence from the league is going to speak volumes if there's no games to be played. How many people who go to attend a game have the same conscience as us in terms of what's happening behind the scenes? You speak louder to those people who have no sense of what's going on when you don't say anything, and the game has now been moved to whenever, and it's always interesting too, because so much of, even like with Pro-Rel, any development that we're talking about with the league, it's always about the layers, the quota of your seats, or any part of that. But the players are so foundational to all of this. I mean, we have nothing without them. So an investment seems so short-sighted. This league is in many ways kind of nearing the goalpost of where they want to be. They want to be considered serious. They want to have a depthful, league, and it just seems really bizarre not to to secure the one thing that matters in terms of having players on the field. So my hope is that we see some transparency the next couple of days, that an agreement is made that's mutual, and has a lasting impact, that this kind of lack of conversation, more than anything, it's not an issue anymore. We want to see the league progress, and we want everybody to be able to enjoy the sport in America. So that's my take.
Absolutely. And Ryan, I'll ask my esteemed panel here, where can people read about what's happening with the USL collective bargaining? And I'll you tell us, Ryan.
There's a number of great places to read about it, but I wrote 2 wonderful articles on www.quailcitysoccer.com that got a lot of traction this last week. I highly recommend that if you're unaware of all the aspects of what's going on. I posted an article only to find out the very next morning that the strike was authorized. So I would go read both of those. They go in deep about where the negotiations are at, really what the players are asking for, and what we could potentially see happen this weekend, assuming Thursday night, should an agreement not be reached.
There's one thing that hasn't been brought up, and it's probably a real small thing, but could potentially be bigger. And I've heard in doing some of my research on the CBA and some of the different impacts to the teams, the league, the owners, is the introduction of private equity to the mix. And I came from a investment capital background most recently, and private equity works a couple of different ways. It's neither the time nor place to kind of go into details with that. But I will say from my own personal experience, private equity does one thing good, and that's squeezing the product as much as you can to get as much return of investment as they can. Remember the old $5 footlongs that are now $20? That's private equity. So that scared me. So hopefully, that's not going to be a bigger impact than it could be.
Yeah, on that same topic, they announced today Barnes and Noble, owned by private equity, closing their Santa Ramon location, opening new locations, which in many cases are actually an acquisition of an independent bookstore in some different communities. And so, yeah, private equity definitely scary. Let's talk about what we've got coming up. Should we play?
Yeah, should we play? Our upcoming games, as discussed, is Tulsa FC 3-7, Lexington 3-14, and the Open Cup game with El Favorito. I personally am looking forward to Tulsa. Our history with them is pretty neck and neck. One game that I thought was pretty notable when I was kind of looking back on the statistics is we played them 4-14 at home in 2024. And a little bit of our statistics here. We had 26 attempts and 5 shots on goal. I mean, it's a crazy metric with 74% possession. Every one of these last 5 games, we had over 50% of possession, and we had a wild amount of attempts and very few shots on goal. So I'm hoping this dynamic that we have now, even with just the small, glimmer of our look with the preseason friendly, that our statistics are a little bit better than this, because it's crazy to see 13 attempts, 17, 26. So that's my hope coming to the game, is that we're seeing those connections and a more favorable outcome. I think Tulsa will be a really good game to see how we favor in all of this, what our connections are, if we're working together, and if our defense can still hold.
I think what's going to be interesting this season is this is not the Tulsa team that we played last season. Tulsa, actually, their star striker was Taylor Calheria. He actually scored on us I don't know if you guys remember that game where we played in Tulsa, where they snagged a goal in like the 87th minute to win it 1-0. That was actually his goal. He had 20 goals last season in 23 appearances and made the all-league first team for USL. They actually sold him this offseason to Sporting Kansas City of MLS for a club record deal. It was actually the top 5 fee for USL to MLS deals that have ever happened. They got a sell-on clause out of it, so some great business for them. But they're actually missing their star striker. And who they brought in to replace him is Nelson Pierre, who's on loan from Vancouver Whitecaps, also of MLS. But the guy that they're bringing in, he's on loan. He had 12 goals and 4 assists for Vancouver Whitecaps FC 2. We'll not miss the 2 like we did with San Jose there. um, where he played well with them, and he won the Golden Boot in MLS Next Pro. But scoring 12 goals in MLS Next Pro is a step down considerably from USL Championship level. So trying to replace a 20 goal in 23 appearance guy with a MLS Next Pro 12 goal player, I just don't think that they're going to get the same replacement level. So I think Tulsa has lost a lot of the bite in their attack. So it'll be interesting to see what version of Tulsa we see, because I think it's going to be a very different Tulsa than we saw last season when we played them in both games, and we lost 1-0 both times.
If I remember last season, I believe it was our first 4 or 5 games were against all former or previous year playoff teams. It was a gauntlet to start, and I think if we start talking off the record here on power rankings, Tulsa and Lexington would probably be pretty high up there. And to hit both of them and El Farolito, which is never an easy out, despite the level they play at when it comes to U.S. Open Cup, we're gonna have three what I would expect to be pretty challenging games to start with. My worry is that even with they've already announced that the first game is going to be or is a sellout, so I expect Hard Health to be rocking, and that'd be great. If they don't win, and we're probably seconds from hearing Collins out by some factions of the fan base. So
Yeah.
my hope is that we can look good those first couple games and kind of learn from there and go for it. It's a long season. So I'm going to give them, 5, 6 games where I really start, determining what I think they'll do for the rest of the season. But make no mistake, the first 3 games are going to be challenging, and I think it's really going to be telling to see how the team does.
Yeah, I think you're remembering that correctly. Our first cluster of games last season was against New Mexico, Colorado Springs, FC Tulsa, Louisville City, and then Orange County. So all very strong teams, and we only picked up a win against New Mexico, 2 draws and 2 losses in that 5 game opening run before we really picked up, and then we went on a 4 game unbeaten streak. So I think it's, to your point, we probably are going to need to wait a few games, especially with a new system, a new cluster of players, to really get the idea. But I also anticipate a couple games in we're going to hear some Collins out if we don't get results. But I'm gonna stick with you. We're going to wait a few games before I draw any real conclusions or hot takes for the season. Um, yeah.
Off the field, the club made a key announcement this past week: the hiring of Tim Holt to be the president and general manager. What are your guys' thoughts on this? He appears to me to have a pretty impressive resume, and this appears to me again to build on everything the club's done during this offseason. What do you think about the
Yeah.
hiring of Tim Holt?
Well, the open position as a whole is a pretty heavy seat. This is a team that's got a lot going on in our future, even with just the stadium. It brings a lot of ties that you have to bring in. And I think this is the kind of person that could do it. 20 years of experience, a lot of league work, club specific work, a lot of development. There's development all the way around. When you hear him talk, what I personally like as somebody that's kind of new to soccer, and what really attracted to me was the culture. The players, yes, the sport itself, certainly, but the culture is something that I feel like is an investment. You get to be a part of something really dynamic and interesting, and every part of his projects, as far as a different club or the league itself, has those really um, beautiful, like amazing layers, and the culture and the fans are a big part of that. The city itself, and I really enjoy that, and I think that this is the right time specifically for someone with so much backing and USL and MLS experience that he's really going to help. I think he can do the job. It'll just be really interesting to see how it transpires. Like, another interesting part about it is that he's been here when soccer wasn't really a present thing in America. And I think now, to the fact that we have, the World Cup coming and the Premier League, more and more people have a side that they choose. This is somebody who kind of saw USL in its lowest of lows and the highest of highs. It's interesting because it seemed like he was kind of in between projects. So for me, I'm curious about what it was about Sacramento that really called to him to take this position. We can speculate that it certainly is that potential progression to MLS, but for me, it's just that somebody's devoted to the idea of the team, the players, the culture, the fans, all of that to combine to the sport that we watch and love.
I'll take the controversial progression angle here. If you look at his progression with his career and his resume, other than being USL president, his first club position was with Orlando, where he helped them move from USL to MLS. He started their NWSL squad, Orlando Pride, and kind of got that all off the ground. And he very much kind of had this transitional role to move their roster and the club in general from USL to MLS. He then jumps over to San Antonio, and if you look at the timeline, he jumps to San Antonio right when the San Antonio to MLS rumors are at their peak, and really it was at the time between San Antonio and Austin for the expansion bid. And we all know how that ended from there. Precourt had his whole falling out in Columbus. He got the Austin team. San Antonio got put on the back burner and didn't get an MLS club, but he jumped over to San Antonio at the peak of those San Antonio to MLS rumors. Now he's coming to us at a time when MLS is very open that they want to expand to 32 clubs, specifically as they move to a winter schedule after the World Cup. We know from what Don Garber has said that there are several cities still in the running for this expansion bid. Sacramento has been named among them, along with Indianapolis, Phoenix. Vegas was the other one named. You also have the interesting situation with the stadium in Vancouver for the Whitecaps, where there's been rumors of if the Whitecaps are being moved. So just putting my speculation hat on here, it is interesting timing that the president that we are bringing in is a guy who has done transitional periods or moved through transitional periods in the past and is now moving at a time when Republic is looking at building a 20,000 seat stadium. There's rumors about them trying to put another MLS bid together. Mm-hmm. So I'll put on the tinfoil hat here and say that this is not saying that that's necessarily why he's moving, but there's definitely, if maybe that's a factor, that there's a potential opportunity here to move the club up. I mean, you also look into some of the signings that we've had this season. I mean, Mark Anthony Kaye, we signed, he was making $800,000 a year with San Jose, like literally 2 months ago, and now he's moving to Republic. There's no way we're paying him that much, and he's still MLS level, so there's some interesting questions. Cincinnati, when they moved from USL to MLS, they had a very similar trend where they started signing some MLS guys even before that they were confirmed that they were going to MLS, and those guys moved to MLS with them. I know the fan base, and especially all of us here, have some very mixed feelings on an MLS bid again. I don't want to be boy who cried wolf here. We've had a lot of MLS potential in the past, but the signing is very interesting to me with his past history, with where things are with soccer in the country with MLS.
I know we talked about this a lot, Valor, you and I, when that signing came and Tim Holt was announced, but I think you also partnered that with the rumors going around about the stadium going to 20,000 seats earlier and potential delays and things of that nature that are making their rounds. No substantial reason to believe them to be true at this time, but you partner that with his signing, these larger players were coming in. All of those things do point towards something going on in the background, and maybe it is all just a preparation for USL Premier should there not be a lockout. Maybe it is all pointing toward that, or maybe it is pointing towards an MLS bid. I would argue likely the latter. So
can I ask you guys this? How many teams? The latest is it only San Diego that paid $500 million to join MLS?
That's correct.
Correct.
I don't really want to anger people unnecessarily, but is sovereign wealth even worse than private equity? Daniel, I don't know. Sovereign wealth backing the San Diego. So is it possible MLS goes back to $250 million to buy in? I mean, like, where are they going to get? No, we got to come up with $500 million.
It's going to be $500 million at minimum. The club valuations for MLS are higher than they've ever been. They're higher now than most of the Premier League, except for the top six. And that's because you don't have promotion relegation. So you don't have any worry about going back down. And you've got a locked-in system in a market that is about to explode with the World Cup. So the valuations are only going to go up. So it wouldn't surprise me if that $500 million becomes a $600 million or $750 million. And for context here, remember when we first started bidding in 2015, when we were beat out by, we were beat out by St. Louis, and then there was Austin, and there was Charlotte, and all these other teams that have got in. Our original bidding price was like $150 million, and that was without stadium required. So the price is obviously skyrocketed here, but I do not see it going down.
It sounds like a bargain. So let's throw it to Daniel, though, for counterpoint, because Daniel said not necessarily. So not necessarily. What did you mean by that, Daniel?
I mean, there's creative accounting that can take place, and it can be if MLS wants to get a market in, and they don't have an owner that's going to pony up quite that much, they'll figure out a creative way to do it. And whether it's getting a nicer stadium, what is commitment, in the longer term. If you look at the books to whatever degree the stuff is public, and I've seen some of the stuff, you can see that there's definitely some creative accounting going in there. And I think if there was a market, or if they wanted to get to a specific number of teams and they were one short, you know what, for this one team, we'll get the owners to agree, we'll take it at this, we'll take a little bit more on the back end.
I think to that point, let's not forget that with the adjusted MLS Apple TV deal, that they're going to be shopping for a new media rights deal sooner than they anticipated. And if we're going to 32 teams, Sacramento is still a top 20 TV market and growing rapidly every year. So if they really want to shop it around and get the best deal for that, Sacramento would be a prime market to do it in. So I can't imagine they're going to come off that 500 million drastically, but I could also see a scenario where maybe it drops 50 to 100 million, or it stays flat at that 500 million, and whoever else that additional team may be that gets in alongside might be paying a little bit more. But Sacramento holds some value in the league that's coming off of a World Cup spike in interest, as well as a renewed media rights deal.
Well, and I know that some of us here that won't be named are banned from posting on the MLS subreddit. So I know that this is not exactly the MLS fanboy club here, but I do have to give credit where it's due. I've been watching the league on Apple TV, and the coverage is fine. The coverage, the in-studio analysts, and the play-by-play, it's all Max Bretos, the godfather of the American soccer. Go! Yeah! That's what he says. Yeah! I don't want to make an enemy of Max Bretos, by the way. He probably has media monitoring software, so if his name is mentioned, he'll see our podcast. But anyway, my point being that the fans. Okay, so Q2 Stadium. So I was passionate about soccer, but I started attending LA Galaxy games when I was at Cal State Fullerton in Orange County. So I still got a soft spot for the Galaxy. The fans, though, I mean these matches, and if MLS takes like Vancouver against Toronto, the atmosphere now I hate artificial turf as much as the next soccer fan. Artificial turf is kind of a scourge. I don't know why Portland. I mean, maybe it rains too much there. Why can't the Timbers have real grass?
Really quick, Ryan. Unironically, It's because there's literally a river running under the stadium, and they can't find it. They legitimately have lost the river that runs under the stadium, and it would be so expensive to rip everything up and put grass in especially with how much it rains. I live in Portland, with how much it rains here.
Yeah.
With the irrigation that they would have to be in, it would be too expensive because they can't find the river.
Okay, so that's a good excuse. No excuses for Los Angeles, the easiest place to grow grass, in the country. And well, I mean, okay, maybe it's
where you need Sacramento's water, or how are they growing grass? They got water there.
But I'm just saying, what's the big stadium? What's their football stadium? It's greed. The reason why they don't because they want to have concerts, they want to throw everything out. So, but anyway, my only point being that the fan atmosphere in those cities, in this initial run of games, and what the teams are doing to step up ahead of the World Cup, you can see the individual communities coming together. And that just brought me back to one thought about what we said before. Whatever's happening with the stadium, guys, and I'll be honest with you, nothing right now. I drive past it several times a week. And it's all ready for some concrete and some rebar and some stuff, but that stuff hasn't happened yet, and the clock's ticking. But our community, Sacramento, the greater Sacramento community, our community is investing in this team. The team's got to take care of their community, which is the players. The team's got to take care of their community, which is their staff. The team's got to take care of they've got to do their part too. And I'm excited to support a club that is doing that. But the rest of the league needs to get on board.
Talking about MLS, I am not an MLS fanboy by any means, but I will say this: as someone who criticized them from a fan standpoint of wanting to see games and not knowing where the hell I'd find them, and I even had the MLS pass. Someone gifted that to me, so I was like, I had it, but games would be at weird times and they'd be spread out. And this past weekend, I mean, it's there's a morning game, there's a midday game, there's an afternoon game, there's a night game. Everywhere I turn on, there's an MLS game on. I'm like, you know what? You're making it accessible. I am a soccer nut. I will stop and watch kids playing, a pickup game on the side of the road. So yeah, I'm gonna stop at MLS. That's the only game that's on and watch it. So kudos to them for making it more viewable.
Is there a toggle? Can I turn off the scores though? Like, so here's the problem.
Yes.
It's like
there is.
I can okay, because I need to be able to turn off the scores because every game is spoiled for me. When I love that, I love the hub, but I'm like, what? Don't show me the scores. Like, so go ahead, Valor.
And the thing is, the product is good. Like, you say what you will about USL quality, and we love our club, but the MLS quality is really good, especially compared to MLS. Like, we've beaten MLS teams, yes. I mean, we've beaten a Premier League team way back when we beat Sunderland. But the MLS quality, like you watched the Orlando-Miami game this week. Messi hit a golazo of a free kick. You had an exciting back-and-forth game with really, really heated rivalry. You had a lot of trash talk. I mean, the product is good. So I'm never one of those anti-MLS I never want us to get in. I'd be very content if we stay USL Premier. But if we end up in MLS and get to be a part of that product, I will be very content. Also, selfishly talking as a resident of Portland who would be able to see the team a lot more often in person if we get to go up to Portland and Seattle. But the product, it's a good product.
Alternatively, we can just get a USL Portland team. Alternatively.
Let's get the bangers developed.
Promotion relegation.
Well, we got Spokane. Spokane. You're going to go to Spokane this year, right?
Hey, no, we're playing Boise. Boise has their first season, and they're only 6-hour drive from me. So we will play them. They're USL 1, but they are going to be in the USL Cup. So I will be at the Boise game. I'm going to take my in-laws. Shout out to my in-laws who I think are probably listening. Going to get them out to their first ever USL game, and we'll get to see. We'll have some away coverage from that game for the USL Cup.
I have two things. First off, don't mention the Sunderland game or you're going to get me on another wild conspiracy theory, and that's just going to be what I'm known for. But two, did you just say it's only a 6-hour drive? Were those the words you just said?
For context here, I drove down for my nephew's first birthday party down to Chico from Portland. That was 6 hours. We drove down Friday night, attended the party on 3 p.m. on Saturday, and drove back that night. Nice little drive, put a podcast on. It was a pretty good time.
Okay. For clarity, I'm just going to say I have a 3-hour rule. If it's more than a 3-hour drive, you're not going to see me there. If I can't fly there directly, you're not going to see me there. So credit to you for driving 6 hours out to Boise this season to catch the Republic. As much as I love the Republic, it's tatted on my arm, guys. As much as I love the Republic, I'm not driving 6 hours. It's not happening. So just credit to you for that one. 3-hour rule for me. I'll catch the games in Monterey this season.
Yes, that's 2 hours 30. You know, that's a tight 2:30.
I just wanted to throw out here, I have been amongst some Republic supporters, fans at different things, including the preseason game. And I was wearing this Quail City cap here, shameless plug. And I cannot tell you how many people stopped me. Are you with Quail City Soccer? Oh my God, I love what you guys do. Like, I watch your podcast. And I had a great talk with an older gentleman that was sitting in my new seats, which are among the players' families, which is really interesting because I can't talk crap about players now, which I didn't really much before. I'm like, shh, that's his son. You know, like, be careful. I really wanted to, for any of you that follow us and listen to this, thank you so much.
Yes,
it's a labor of love, and I love these guys I work with because they're as passionate in different aspects of it than I am in some cases. What they bring to the table to me is something really special, and it really meant a lot to me that it's resonating with so many people. And we're just getting started. If you're here at the beginning, help us grow. We appreciate it, and I'm really, it's like this is almost like a little celebrity, VIP card and everything. Yeah. And you can get one too, but that'll be for another point. But I just wanted to say that because I was blown away by how many people stopped me and asked me about it.
If you would like to get one, shop.quailcitysoccer.com is a great spot to shop. The Quail City Exchange helps us support the podcast and all the other great content we provide for you through the season. That is a totally shameless plug. But
we have flags, we have stickers, we even have a jersey.
License plate. I'm rocking the license plate cover. I just need to change. I need to use AI to change 2 letters of my license plate, and then I'll send you the photo, Ryan, so you can you can promote it.
So now that we are getting to the end of this, it's the most important part, in my opinion. Who's going to make a prediction and stick by it when they lose, and I win?
I went first last time. It's one of you guys this time.
Last time I predicted. Let me just say I got close to the right number of goals because didn't I say 3-3?
Doesn't count.
That's what I thought. Yeah, it doesn't count because
we all lost.
So I'm gonna say still. I mean, looking at our history, I think Tulsa is gonna pack the box against us. I'm gonna go with 1-0 Sac Republic FC, March 7th.
I'm gonna go a solid 2-1. I think Tulsa sneaks one early. Fully calling my shot here. I think Tulsa sneaks one early, but as things start clicking, especially second half, I think we get two back and comfortably play defensively to finish the game out.
I was going to say 2-1. That got stolen from me, and I don't like to copy.
Wait a minute.
So I'm going to say 3-1, and I always go on the higher side because I like seeing some goals. Mm-hmm. So I'll say 3-1 Republic. I think we're going to come out of the box hot.
Last time we did beat Tulsa, all the way back in 2022, it was 2-1. No. I feel like we're finally going to get them over. I am going to double up. I am going to go. I think it's going to be 2-1. It's the only logical choice I can make.
I should have
mentioned.
Here's
a more difficult question. Before the next pod, we also play Lexington.
Yeah, we need to do Lexington as well.
Okay.
Right. Yeah,
well, let me throw mine down.
We got to get Rachael's, and then we go around again for Lexington.
Yeah, I should have mentioned in my throwing that I also was thinking it was 2-1. I should have said that. I definitely think 2-1.
You're all cheap.
Yeah, I know. Well, I look at it as this, like our last 5 games over the course of 3 years, they're just really close, and it's 1 goal or no goals. And I hope that we have something to prove this year, so I'm saying 2-1. I want us to come out strong and have 1 more goal over them. So I'm going 2-1.
Well, the worst thing for soccer in America is the existence of the 0-0 draw. So our next pod is we're going to be recording the next pod 2 weeks from today, which would put us past the Lexington match as well. So we've got to do Lexington. So I am going to say away at Lexington 1-1, and I will be happy to take a point from them on the road. So who wants to go next on Lexington?
I'm going to jump in before someone steals my choice. I'm 1-0. 1-0 Republic.
Right,
PDL is going to stand on his head, and we're going to find a way to get one in the back of the net.
All right, I'm going to jump in here. So last time we beat Lexington, no, we never beat Lexington. It's actually always been draws. It's 2-2 and 0-0, the only 2 times we've ever played Lexington. I'm not going to jump in with Dan and steal his 1-0. I'll go 2-0. I think it's a hopeful 2-0. Lexington had some wild offseason signings, so it'll be an interesting one, especially on the road. But I'm going to go confidently until I lose.
Republic 2-0. Republic 2-0. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to jump in and say that Lexington is scary this year. I mean, they signed Felipe from us, who did not perform well last season, but I think under new circumstances, he plays well. And I think for him, especially riding the bench most of last season, this is a revenge game. So I think I'm going 2-2, and I think Felipe actually gets one in on us.
A nice header. Yeah, it's always funny when the players we formerly had signed with different teams, and they just play so well against us. They're so mean. I'm going to say 1-0 Lexington. I hate to say it, but I do also agree that the signings have been pretty wild and exciting on their part. So,
as long as Luis Felipe doesn't pull a tainer on us.
Well, Rachael, I hope you wrote all that down. Because you're going to have to keep us accountable. Well, okay. We'll get it.
Everybody
get it
put 2-1. That's it.
We'll get it on
Good
the replay.
News, it's recorded.
We've gone over our time. Thank you guys for being here. But thanks for joining us this week on the Quail Call. Again, thank you for listening. Please share this podcast with a friend. Like, comment, and subscribe. Smash that like button. I shook my monitor. Smash that like button. Follow us, and we will see you next time.
And we just wanted to give you a little tease for our next podcast. We were able to secure a real special surprise guest, who will be coming to us right before our game, U.S. Open Cup opener with El Farolito Burrito Boys. And you will know this surprise guest from a lot of media he does around surrounding the league. not just USL, but MLS as well. And we're really excited to share more as we get a little bit closer to it. But I definitely want to tune in for that one because he's someone that brings a very unique perspective. And we'll be coming to Sacramento for that game. So after the podcast, go to see him as well.